Welcome to another episode of Mastering Cybersecurity, developed by baremetalcyber.com. Let's dive in. Alert triage is the first pass an analyst makes on incoming security alerts. In those first few minutes, the analyst decides whether something needs fast action or patient investigation. The goal is not to solve every detail immediately, but to understand whether the situation is dangerous, harmless, or still unclear. For beginners, this moment can feel stressful because alarms sound serious and tools use unfamiliar language. A simple, repeatable mental checklist helps replace panic with calm, steady thinking and clear steps. In this episode, we walk slowly through those first minutes after a new alert appears on the screen. We focus on a single example, a suspicious login from a country the user has never visited before. Using that small story, we look at which details matter most and why they matter. You will hear how analysts confirm basic facts, pull more context, and weigh possible risks. By the end, you can picture a straightforward triage flow that you can practice and adapt later. Before an analyst can triage anything, they need to understand what a security alert actually represents. A security alert is a tool-generated warning about activity that might be suspicious or unsafe. Many organizations collect logs and events inside a Security Information and Event Management (SIEM) platform, which groups signals and raises alerts when patterns match detection rules. These alerts are helpful, but they are not perfect because tools see every small detail while people usually only see the highlights. That difference means tools often create noisy alerts that point at harmless activity, such as routine software updates or users mistyping passwords. It also means tools sometimes describe events using technical field names that beginners do not yet recognize or trust. During triage, the analyst treats each new alert as a starting clue rather than a final verdict. The mindset is calm curiosity, asking what the tool thinks it saw and how sure it might be. With that attitude, the analyst can review alert details thoughtfully instead of reacting automatically to every flashing symbol and urgent-sounding label. When an alert first appears, the analyst's next step is to read the basic details like a short news story headline. Most alert interfaces show who was involved, what action triggered the rule, when the event happened, and where the activity came from on the network. These fields might include a username, an internet protocol, IP address, a geographic location guess, and the time in a particular time zone. The analyst scans these items slowly, repeating them mentally to build a clear mental picture before doing anything complex. They might say to themselves that an employee account logged in from a city overseas very early in the morning. They might also notice that the alert came from a cloud application rather than an internal server, which changes how they interpret the situation. By assembling these simple facts first, the analyst anchors later decisions in concrete, verifiable details. This careful reading stage prevents them from chasing the wrong lead simply because the alert title sounded dramatic or alarming at first glance. After reading the basics, the analyst begins asking whether the alert looks real or might be a false positive. A false positive is an alert about activity that looks worrying to a tool but is actually harmless to the organization. To make this judgment, the analyst looks for simple clues that either strengthen or weaken the case for real danger. They might check whether the username exists in the directory and whether the account is still active or already disabled. They might also notice that the login came from a device fingerprint previously marked as trusted for that user. On the other hand, an unknown device, combined with an unusual location and odd timing, can push the analyst toward treating the alert as potentially serious. None of these clues are perfect alone, so the analyst avoids jumping to a conclusion. Instead, they treat each clue as a small weight on either side of a balance, slowly tipping toward likely harmless or likely risky as more evidence appears. Once the analyst has a rough sense of whether the alert feels credible, they deepen the context by learning more about the user and the system involved. Identity context means understanding who the account belongs to, what their role is, and which teams or managers they report to inside the organization. Asset context means understanding what kind of system or application the account is using and how critical it is for business operations. A login to a public training portal usually carries less risk than a login to a payment processing dashboard with access to customer financial data. The analyst might open a human resources directory, an internal wiki, or an asset inventory to gather this information. They note whether the user is a new hire, a contractor, or a long-time employee with broad responsibilities. By connecting identity and asset details to the alert, the analyst can better judge how serious a potential compromise would be if the account were actually misused. With basic facts and context in place, the analyst looks outward to see whether this alert sits alone or is part of a larger pattern. Most logging tools allow a search for related events, such as other logins from the same account, the same IP address, or the same geographic region. The analyst might pull the last 24 hours of activity for the user, checking whether they logged in from their usual city before or after the suspicious event. They might also search for other accounts that tried to sign in from the same foreign city within a short time window. If many different accounts show failed attempts from that place, the analyst may suspect automated password guessing. If only one account appears from that location, especially with successful access, the analyst may suspect targeted misuse of that single identity. Related events turn a single data point into a timeline, which often changes how urgent a situation appears. To make this concrete, imagine a suspicious login alert for a staff member at a small community health clinic. The detection rule has flagged a successful sign-in to the clinic's patient scheduling portal from a country the staff member has never visited. The analyst knows from identity context that this person normally works in a regional office, using a standard corporate laptop during daytime hours. The alert shows a login at 3 in the morning local time from a mobile device never seen before, connecting through an overseas network provider. That combination does not match the normal story of a busy receptionist checking appointments during regular business hours. Because the portal contains sensitive personal information about patients, unauthorized access could create serious privacy and compliance problems. The analyst, therefore, treats this alert as a strong candidate for real account misuse instead of something that can be safely ignored until later. Handling that clinic scenario, the analyst pulls several specific pieces of information and thinks carefully about each one. Country information shows whether the login came from a place where the user is known to travel, which might be common for a sales representative but rare for local clinic staff. Device details show whether this looks like the usual managed laptop or an unknown personal mobile phone connecting from a cafe. Time of day information shows whether the login happened during typical working hours, during a reasonable overtime period, or at an unusual time such as early morning. Login history shows whether this account has ever connected from this country, region, or device type before, or whether this is the very first instance. Each field becomes a clue that either supports the idea of normal travel or daily flexibility, or supports the idea of account compromise by someone else using stolen credentials. To avoid overreacting to every unfamiliar detail, analysts rely on baselines that describe normal behavior for users and systems. A baseline is a simple description of what usually happens over time, such as typical login locations, regular working hours, or common applications used each day. In our clinic example, the baseline might show that staff almost always sign in from the same city and rarely travel for work. It might also show that this particular employee usually logs in between 8 in the morning and 6 in the evening from a company-managed laptop on the internal network. When the analyst compares the suspicious login against that history, the differences stand out more clearly and feel less like guesswork. Baselines do not predict every future action, but they provide a grounded reference, so unusual behavior becomes easier to spot and describe during triage. As evidence accumulates, the analyst starts forming a clearer view of how serious the situation might be by thinking in terms of impact and likelihood. Impact describes how bad the outcome would be if the alert represents real malicious activity, such as data exposure, service downtime, or financial loss. Likelihood describes how probable it is that the alert reflects real malicious behavior instead of some unusual but harmless event. In our clinic example, impact is high because patient information is sensitive and tightly regulated, so unauthorized viewing or changes could create real harm. Likelihood rises as the analyst observes unusual country, new device, odd timing, and no matching history of travel for this employee. When both impact and likelihood feel high, the analyst classifies the alert as a high-priority case. That classification guides how quickly they must act and how many other people they should involve in the response. When an alert reaches that high-priority territory, analysts consider whether quick containment actions are needed to reduce immediate risk. Containment means short-term steps that limit possible damage, such as blocking access, forcing a password reset, or temporarily disabling a suspicious account. In the clinic scenario, the analyst may recommend that the account be locked while they and colleagues investigate further details. They might also ask the identity team to require strong multi-factor authentication for that user before access is restored. These actions are not taken lightly because they can interrupt normal work and frustrate staff during busy hours. However, when impact and likelihood both look high, teams usually accept short inconveniences to avoid long-term harm. During triage, the key point is that containment decisions are based on observed evidence, documented reasoning, and clear communication, rather than fear or assumption alone. Every step in this triage journey gains power when it is recorded clearly in a ticketing system used by the team. A ticketing system is a shared tracking tool where analysts log work, decisions, and outcomes so others can see what has already happened. For our suspicious login, the analyst records the original alert details, the context they checked, the related events they found, and the current judgment about impact and likelihood. They also record any containment actions requested or taken, such as account lockout or password reset, along with times and names of approvers. These notes create a timeline that later reviewers, managers, or auditors can follow without guessing about missing steps. Good tickets save time because future analysts do not need to repeat earlier checks, and they support learning because teams can review past triage decisions to refine playbooks and detection rules. Clear communication with teammates is the final piece that turns individual triage into effective team defense. After updating the ticket, the analyst often shares a short, plain language summary in a team chat channel or daily review meeting. That summary includes what happened, what evidence increased or decreased concern, what actions have already been taken, and what decisions still remain open. In the clinic scenario, the analyst might explain that a suspicious foreign login was detected, that account lockout has been requested, and that confirmation from the user's manager is pending. Other team members can then respond with suggestions, offer to handle follow-up tasks, or confirm that the chosen approach matches agreed procedures. This shared understanding prevents duplicate work, avoids silent assumptions, and builds trust that alerts are handled consistently, not randomly. Over time, strong communication habits make triage feel like a coordinated group effort rather than a lonely, stressful race for the individual analyst. By walking through this single suspicious login story, you have seen how alert triage turns vague tool warnings into structured human decisions. The process begins with understanding what the alert represents, then anchoring on basic facts, checking identity and asset context, and searching for related events that reveal patterns over time. It continues with comparing behavior against baselines, weighing impact and likelihood, and considering containment steps that match the actual level of risk. Throughout, careful documentation and clear communication keep the whole team aligned, so no one has to rely on memory or scattered notes when incidents unfold. For beginners, practicing this calm, repeatable flow on simple scenarios builds confidence long before they face a major breach. Each rehearsal makes it easier to slow racing thoughts, focus on evidence, and reach balanced conclusions, even when alarms feel urgent. This has been Mastering Cybersecurity, a learning series developed by baremetalcyber.com today. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.